りない?
The story begins when an unknown being in the depth of space releases a small white orb, sending it to Earth. The orb makes its way to Earth, and when it first reaches the planet, it lands near a rock. The orb finds the rock to be quite curious, and after a few moments pass, it decides to take the form of the rock. Time goes by, and one day an injured white wolf arrives near the rock. It falls to the ground from its injuries, and after a while the wolf dies. The orb now decides to take the form of the wolf and wander the land. In the form of the wolf, the orb travels for some time until it reaches a camp. After entering the camp, everyone seems to be dead, except the only survivor in the camp is a boy that has a nice smile. Suddenly, the boy notices the white wolf and calls out to him using the name Joanne. The boy now starts to pack up food and any necessary supplies. He is preparing to travel to a location that he calls Paradise. The boy is convinced that beyond the mountains the rest of his tribe is waiting for him. Many of his tribe members left 5 years ago in search of a new home, and they left the boy to take care of the sick and the elderly members of the village that shouldn't make the trip. As the years went by, eventually all the people in the camp died and the boy was left alone. The wolf and the boy then start to follow a trail that the tribe members left all those years ago. For a while their journey is going smoothly, but the boy injures his leg and it starts to become a problem. He has a hard time walking, but he still doesn't want to give up. After some time they stumble upon the remains of a caravan. There are also several graveyards and tombstones. The boy realizes that his entire tribe died, so he becomes distraught and decides to return home. As he returns home, his injury worsens too much and he is slowly dying. After some time the boy is on the verge of death and he looks at the white wolf. He tells Joanne that he hopes he will remember him forever. The boy then takes his last breath of air and dies. The orb looks upon the boy, who now seems like just an empty shell. After a while the orb transforms from the wolf into the boy. The orb now, as the boy continues its journey to explore this new life. The orb decides to honor the boy's wishes and travel around the world and live the life he wanted for himself, as a way to honor the boy and his dreams. The orb that is now in the form of the boy travels for quite some time, going all around the south exploring new lands. Because the orb has no knowledge of human life, it keeps dying. He manages to get fatally clawed by a bear, die from starvation, injuries and other elements. But every single time the orb just regenerates the body and continues its journey. After some time the boy reaches a small village. In the village the people are planning to sacrifice a little girl called March. They are doing this human sacrifice to please a god that is called Onaguma. They believe that with this sacrifice they will be spared and have more success in their fields. The villagers take March and take her towards the mountain to the altar. Before she can be sacrificed, her friend called Peron intervenes and distracts the villagers, giving March an opportunity to escape. While March makes her escape, she runs into the boy, who is in the middle of a regeneration. Right behind her are the villagers, but when they see the boy changing shapes and forms they get scared and run away. March and the boy spend some time together and she gives him some fruit to eat. The boy devours it like an animal, as it's the first time that the orb has tasted food. The boy and March then take a rest for a while. March has a nightmare that the villagers have found her friends and sister and are sacrificing them to Onaguma as her replacement. March then decides to go back to the main road and the boy follows her like a little dog. She is a special human and the orb feels safe with her. March proceeds to make friendly fun of the boy for acting like a kid. We then see Perona is captured by the villagers and tied to a post. However, a giant bear suddenly arrives and begins eating the nearby guards. Perona uses the commotion to cut off her restraints with a blade. At that moment the bear notices her and rushes to attack, so Perona jumps over a cliff to escape the wild animal. In the meantime, a woman called Hayes leads the party to find March and take her to be sacrificed. After searching for some time they manage to find the boy and March together in the woods. March was teaching the boy how to eat like a human and speak. Hayes takes March and carries her to the altar, where she sedates her so that she can't escape. They tie March to the altar and wait for their god to arrive. Suddenly the giant bear appears and the villagers think that the bear is actually their god Onaguma. Hayes and her group decide to leave and let the god feed. Perona rushes to save March and she is also joined by the boy, who seems to have grown fond of her. Hayes is impressed with their bravery and wants to see what happens with the bear. Perona tries to free March but is knocked out by the big beast. The boy then transforms into a giant white wolf and attacks the bear, biting off its face and defeating it without problem. The villagers are terrified and confused. Hayes then says that March, Perona and the boy can be spared, but only if they join Hayes on her journey towards the nation of Yaname. March and Perona decide that this is their best option and accept the invitation. The orb in its wolf form finally speaks. It says thank you, the words that March was trying to teach it. Hayes takes Perona along with March and the boy on a long journey to Yaname. March decides to name the boy Fushi, as she wants him to have something of his own. At first the journey is pleasant and Hayes lets the group eat food from various stands and have fun. but this changes rather quickly as Hayes puts a substance into their refreshments. The group wakes up and Fushi gets attacked by prisoners who have lost their minds. During the fight, it is revealed that the boy named Fushi is indeed immortal. During this painful experience, Fushi learns a new phrase, "It hurts." In order to escape the angry prisoner, Fushi transforms into a wolf and runs away. He is then shot by poisoned arrow to stop him in his tracks. March gets super worried about Fushi and helps him with his injuries, removing the arrow that was stuck in him. Perona then comes up with a plan that might set them free. She thinks that they could find the bear and bring it back to the village to prove that sacrifices to Onigam are no longer necessary. March and Fushi are caught while they are searching for the bear corpse. Hayes and her helpers force March to heal the bear. They try and treat the bear's wounds, but it dies shortly after. While sneaking around, Perona accidentally falls into a shed and is spotted by a guard. She decided that her plan needs to happen right away. Perona manages to get to March and Fushi, and all three of them escape but are also chased by the villagers from Yaname. Perona is viciously attacked, and just before she is finished, March sacrifices her life to save her friend. After seeing his friend get hurt, this causes Fushi to go into a rage, and in turn he transforms into a giant bear and demolishes all the enemies around them. March dies and Perona is heartbroken. Later, she goes to visit March's parents and tell them all about their daughter. Soldiers from Yaname still want to capture Fushi, however Perona manages to convince them to give up their pursuit. Fushi then goes away, alone once again. Several Yaname soldiers try to shoot Fushi while he is leaving, but Perona shoots an arrow directly at the archer's hand. As Fushi gets lost in the woods, he changes his shape to resemble March. Fushi walks for days, slowly making his way through the forest. On his journey, he meets an old woman called Pyorin. Fushi is then taught how to speak and other human behaviors. After some time, Fushi finally is able to form complete sentences, and while he still talks slowly, he can communicate with the elderly woman. He manages to tell the old woman the story of his life and how he came to be. After a while, the two of them arrive at Takanoha, war-torn land that is currently in a huge war with Yaname. Fushi and Pyorin are trying to find the way to the house of Pyorin's love. The two take a quick rest just to gather their strength, but they are attacked by a strange creature. This creature consumes and takes away every memory that Fushi has, returning him to his orb state as he has forgotten all of his experiences. Suddenly, the beholder shows up. This is the being that created Fushi. The beholder tells Fushi to target the core of the creature to destroy it. Fushi finally manages to destroy the creature and then talks to the beholder. Fushi gets back his memories, and the beholder reveals the purpose of their visit to Earth. Fushi has the duty to protect life and this world, and he must protect it from creatures who want to destroy it. Finally, Fushi and the elder manage to find the home of her lover. We are then introduced to a small child called Gugu, who was abandoned by his older brother and now has to work in various shops just to survive. One day after work, Gugu almost dies in a railroad accident. However, he is suddenly saved by Pyorin's lover, who goes by Boo's Man. Gugu has to wear a special mask to hide his face. His face is scarred badly and he doesn't want others to judge or fear him, so he hides it. Fushi and Pyorin finally reach a restaurant where Fushi gets to know Gugu. One of the girls who works at the restaurant likes Fushi, and Gugu gets jealous as he likes her too. Gugu gets into an argument with Boo's Man and he leaves the restaurant to work in the city. Fushi tries to learn how to cook and he practices at the restaurant but fails many times. Pyorin then tells him that he needs Gugu to help him to learn the cooking skills he needs. If Fushi learns how to cook, he will be one step closer to being a real adult. We also see that Gugu tries to earn some money but struggles. The following night, several criminals decide to kidnap Gugu and use him as part of their show. Fushi arrives just in time and transforms again into a giant bear, scaring the criminals away. Fushi then asks Gugu for his help and the two boys become friends. Fushi finally manages to make some food and gives it to Gugu. The two boys talk about the concept of life and death. Fushi reveals that he can take the form of anyone who dies, so Gugu makes him promise that after he dies, Fushi will take his form and carry on living. Fushi agrees and promises this to his new friend. Gugu then loses his mask, which helps him hide his face, so Fushi goes to find it and the two friends return to the restaurant. Fushi manages to find Gugu's mask, but he is then attacked by a mysterious creature. Fushi gets overpowered by something called the Knockers, but Gugu manages to save him at the last minute using fire. After those events, Gugu goes back to the restaurant where he teaches Fushi how to properly cook. The two boys form a beautiful friendship and Fushi is truly happy for the first time. 4 wonderful years pass and Fushi is proud of his progress as a human. He is even proud that his facial hair has started to grow on its own. However, his happiness doesn't last much longer as all of a sudden the beholder appears, telling him that he must leave this area. Fushi refuses as he wants to stay with Gugu and his new friends. He doesn't want to leave his community. One of the girls in the town, called Rian, celebrates her 16th birthday but is scared because she is arranged to marry a man that is 4 years older than her. Gugu gets drunk and finally confesses his love towards Rian. The following morning Gugu doesn't remember anything as he was very drunk. After a long time away his brother visits him and tries to apologize for leaving for so long. Gugu listens to his brother but rejects his apology, so the brother returns Rian's ring that Gugu gave him all those years ago. Fushi and Gugu visit Rian at her house where Fushi advises Gugu to confess his feelings, but this time he needs to do it the right way. Gugu feels nervous as he is not rich nor handsome. Rian comes to talk to Gugu and they both remember the ring that she gave him. On the other hand, the knockers suddenly attack a couple of teenagers and the beholder informs Fushi of these attacks happening. Fushi goes into town and he protects some people from the dangerous knockers but he cannot fully defeat them. The area is totally destroyed. The immortal orb has been severely wounded so it returns to the form of the boy from before. Gugu and Rian go into town but come to see that it has been wrecked. They try to run away but a building collapses and falls on them. But before they are caught underneath, Fushi uses the last of his strength to save them. Fushi then realizes that he only managed to save Rian and Gugu is dead. Fushi takes on the form of Gugu and uses his full power to destroy all the enemies. Rian tries to find Gugu but is unable. Fushi shows up in his form and tells her that he must now go away forever. Fushi goes on another long journey. He has lost his friend and his home. He decides that from now on he won't get involved as it will only bring harm to the people he loves. After some time Rian remembers how much she loved Gugu and she also tells her father that she won't be getting married, as the man she loved is dead. Fushi talks to the beholder once more and realizes that during the last battle he forgot about March. Bjorn finds Fushi and tells him that she will join him on his journey. The two travel for some time but are captured by some prisoners, and Fushi gets separated from Bjorn. He then decides that he will do anything in his power to find his friend. Fushi looks for Bjorn and eventually joins a competition between several criminals, which ultimately gives him the chance to save Bjorn. Fushi doesn't do too well in the first round. Other warriors in the arena begin fighting each other and Fushi enters when there's only one left standing. Fushi uses his regeneration power to take several lethal hits and ends up winning as his opponent became mortified. The second round begins and Fushi decides to transform and wins once more. Fushi manages to transform into Bjorn, which makes him realize that his friend is dead. Fushi is still trying to figure out how Bjorn died. He then meets a young girl named Tonari who tells him that there are good people who have become criminals because of bad luck. She remembers her father who was also a criminal. Fushi then tries again to rescue Bjorn but the beholder tells him that he should honor her memory and legacy. The next round of the tournament arrives and Fushi demonstrates too much power as he dominates all the other fighters. Two other fighters enter the arena as well but Fushi still wins at the end of the round. He is once again confronted by Tonari who tells him that killing is a horrible thing to do. The knockers show up and Fushi must join forces with the villagers to defeat these monsters. Fushi finally gets back his memories of March and then becomes friends with Tonari. Fushi gets even closer with Tonari and the other children in the village as he likes spending time with them. However, Tonari is still a bit reserved as she has experienced much trauma in the past. She actually saw her father get killed in that same arena years ago. Fushi takes the form of March and sneaks in to find Bjorn inside a prison. Fushi goes to have the final match with Hayes, the person who caused him so much pain in the past. Hayes reveals that she was the one who killed Bjorn. Fushi goes into a rage but Hayes injects him with a substance that knocks him out. Hayes becomes the leader of the Anata island and she can now do whatever she wants with Fushi and his friends. Hayes is still basking in her victory and she starts making up stories so that the villagers worship her even more. She lies to them and tells them that she was the one who found Fushi and that he was just a beast when they met, claiming she was the one who helped him learn how to talk and about humanity. Hayes then tells Tonari that she can rule over Anata Ilsand and then takes Fushi to a hidden room where she starts to assault him. Tonari and the rest of her friends attempt to save Fushi but unfortunately they're caught by guards. Fushi tells Hayes that he will allow her to do whatever she wants with him only if she releases Tonari and her friends and allows them to leave the island. She accepts this offer and gives Tonari a boat so that they can leave but she still injects them. When Tonari awakens she wants to return and save Fushi. In the meantime, Fushi is now also injected and is basically Hayes' slave. Tonari comes back to the island and once again tries to save her friend. While trying to rescue Fushi she is met by several knockers. The monsters begin attacking everyone on the island without mercy. Fushi and Tonari both fight off the monsters who have also now started to possess the dead. Tonari's friends try to help but are easily slain in the battle. The knockers have now evolved their powers even more, so Fushi and Tonari now have to also handle their dead friends. Fushi starts going into panic mode as he is breaking down, heartbroken about his life. Hayes then captures Tonari and forces Fushi to act. Fushi promises once again to do anything as long as Tonari is set free. Tonari is ready to sacrifice her own life as long as she takes Hayes with her. But Fushi suddenly manages to save both of them from the burning pit that is infested with knockers and corpses. Fushi then takes Hayes with him and leaves Tonari to rule over the island in peace. Hayes finally wakes up and she tells Fushi that she actually loves him, making him angry, and in turn he puts her on another boat and he leaves with his own one. At first, Fushi is afraid of integrating back into civilization and living among human society. He is afraid that it will only cause pain. In the end, he decides that he will rejoin his friend Pyorin and spend as much time with her as possible. The beholder tries to explain that she will soon die from old age, but Fushi doesn't understand what that means. Several months pass and Pyorin starts to suffer from dementia. Fushi doesn't understand what is happening and tries his best to take care of his friend. A man saves Hayes and brings her to his hut to recover. However, Hayes actually merges with a knocker and takes out the man and escapes. Pyorin approaches death and she speaks with the beholder. She asks him to be reborn as someone who will help Fushi on his journey that will probably last forever. She then dies and enters paradise where she meets with the beholder. The beholder holds her essence, which looks very similar to Fushi's original orb form. Fushi realizes that Pyorin has really gone. He is distraught for the loss of his friend and reminisces on all the happy memories they had on their journey. Decades pass and we see that Fushi is now a lot older and he is still fighting and killing knockers. And this brings the anime to an end. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on another video. Until next time, take care.